Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, let me tell you, I'm excited because we have a big event coming up really soon here, our Gold Neonatal Online Conference 2026. And of course, we have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with some of our speakers. And here today, we've got Dr. Emily Spaeth, who is with us. She's going to be talking about from containment to coordination, positioning for stable breastfeeding in the NICU. Well, welcome to you, Emily. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I was excited because inside scoop, I got to listen to the presentation already. This is one of our incredible presentations that will be ready to go as soon as you click on it on June 1st. That's actually our opening keynote day as well, Emily, just so you know. So there'll be a lot of excitement for everybody coming in to this event. So they'll
Great.
have the ability to join in and be able to, listen right away as part of the add-on package, which is really phenomenal. It means that folks can just, do it when they're ready. And for your presentation, I will tell people you're going to want to pause, watch, listen, all the things, right, Emily?
That's right. I tried to fit a lot into 1 hour.
Absolutely. We were just talking about that. But let's talk a little bit about you because I'm really curious about how you got here. So,
hmm
what first made you really interested on positioning, stability, and really the effect that it might have on breastfeeding outcomes in the NICU?
Oh, Fiona, that's such a good question. I started as people get confused because I'm both a physical therapist and an IBCLC.
Hmm.
I started as a physical therapist, and I was a certified neonatal therapist in a level 4 NICU, level 1 trauma center, and I was the only physical therapist there for a while.
Right.
And
Wow.
I was constantly working on positioning. I was working with our reps on positioning devices to try to help when babies were on Bailey lights. It was, as a physical therapist, is one of the primary interventions that I have, right?
Right.
And I was always so excited to see on the monitors when it worked, you know?
I could just imagine, the
Right?
delight. You're like, oh, look at that
It's
calm.
working. Yes, exactly. And I had this moment where I realized that I was the one helping with the first latch almost every single time
Mm,
because I was the one helping with the first transfer out of bed and teaching
right.
parents about a skin to skin transfer and
Mm,
teaching nurses about a skin to skin transfer and helping them
sure.
feel comfortable. And it was a lot of, as the educator, I was educating nurses and residents on trauma informed care, all of these things. So
Mm.
I I realized that I was there, right there when the baby was rooting. And I was like, well, let's try. You can try, you just pumped. It's safe.
Right.
And I had absolutely no business doing that. I didn't have the
Mm.
credentials. So there was a day specifically where I used to pick up the phone at the front desk and somebody called from a different unit, the cardiac ICU adult.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, you've got the wrong unit. That always happens." And she said, "No, no, my patient's baby is in the NICU." And she just woke up. She has
Right.
had a cardiac event and she needs to pump. Can someone help? And I looked
Oh,
around and the unit was crazy that there was nothing to be done that day. And I looked at
right.
one of the attendings and she said, "Can you bring a pump down there?" And so I did. And I helped her get all set up. And I walked away from that experience with colostrum for her baby that I brought back to
Hmm.
the unit. And I was and an immediate knowledge that I needed to become an IBCLC. So that's
Well,
how
that is
the
that is
journey
a
went.
that's a goosebump story for sure, and for those of us who work in the field, we really live for those moments that are, they're transforming. They
Mhm.
transform, and it did for you. This was life-changing, clearly,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
likely, maybe for that parent as well.
Oh, completely. She would have
Right?
not been able to pump. And because of
Right.
the experience and the support and her, she was also COVID positive at the time. And
Oh,
so we were all in full PPE and her nurse had
oh,
no idea what she was doing. And
sure.
so it was just this moment of, we're going to figure this out together. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I am so grateful for that call and that I
Yeah.
answered it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right place at the right time. And there never are any coincidences. That's what I say all the time. So
Mm,
that's an
beautiful.
amazing story. Well, thank you for sharing. And thinking about your presentation, I said a few things after I got to watch it. And that was something that, this type of presentation never gets old. It's almost like it should be requirement, and we should be refreshing ourselves. And I know this as a clinician because I need to have that second set of eyes all the time,
Mhm,
looking at those babies.
mhm,
It just is. That's the reality of our work because we are so busy, immensely deeply focused on certain aspects all the time.
mhm.
But having that look, it's refreshing. So that's what I
Yeah.
want people to know today. When they go and watch your presentation, it is refreshing again to really look at those clinical stages, understand what's happening. So let's
Mhm,
talk a little bit about the clinical reality, what it really looks
mhm.
like
Yeah.
in the NICU. We'll talk about this briefly, and then I've got a couple of more questions for you. So this part is really about the most common signs. You talked about looking at the monitors, but tell me what some of the common signs are that a baby might be really struggling that maybe might get missed. What's
Mhm.
the nuance that you're seeing that you feel like you're passing on to others?
Mm. Some of the big ones are a brow furrow or
Mm,
a brow raise.
right,
And especially those are tricky because they can just be a sign that the baby is focusing, but they can also be the first sign that a baby is not going to tolerate something.
right.
We know the finger splay is a really easy one, but something that I like to add to that conversation is that we don't need to call it a stop sign for parents because it can lead to a parent feeling like I've done something wrong and my baby is
Hmm.
in distress because I have distressed them. And
Right.
if we can offer them, oh, this is an open door. And you can put
Hmm.
your finger in that hand and bring the hand back to the chest and provide your baby the containment that they're needing at the moment to
Hmm.
stay organized, then you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah, and the thing that I heard you say as well, just talking about, sort of that reframing moment is you talked about stability first, feeding second, and I think that, in a NICU, and I mean, you really understand this nuance. People looking from the outside in maybe don't really understand how intensive it can be at times,
Yeah.
and what the expectations are, and what we need to do, and how we support, these fragile infants.
Mhm.
And so finding that moment where, stability really is, I think you almost like a key in the sense
Yeah.
to feeding.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes there's a rush to feeding. Let's see if
Mhm.
the baby can feed. But if there's no stability and now you're showing me that
Yeah.
subtlety of
So subtle.
what stability looks like. So it might
Mhm.
actually not be on the monitor. That's really what
Mhm.
I heard you say.
Yeah, and in fact, if it's on the monitor, you're too late. It's kind of like what we say to parents who are looking for feeding cues in just a full-term infant in their house, that
Right.
once the baby is crying, you're too late. You missed the
Yeah.
feeding cues, right? But for us in the neonatal ICU, it is a life or death situation
Hmm.
sometimes. And
Yeah.
so if we are ignoring those subtle cues from a baby, it can be really, really detrimental. And
Mm,
I think it can be so empowering for parents also, especially those parents who have tricky feeders who are
right.
just desperate to get home. And they're like, why won't you let me take my baby home?
Mm,
It's really important for them to see those cues and to be able to identify them and understand why this is not going well for a baby. And I think one of my favorites is it's really obvious. Sometimes an eyebrow raise, like you can look away for 2 seconds or 1 second and you miss it. But one of the really obvious ones is for attention state.
mm,
Is the baby moving towards you or
hmm.
are they moving away from you?
Yeah.
And that
Yes.
one is easy to spot once you're looking for it.
What, yes, once you're looking for it, once you see it, you can't undo it. That's what I noticed in your presentation too, which I thought was really good. The other aspect was, so we're going to wrap up right away here. It's so great talking to you. Honestly, I think one of the things that you really emphasize in your presentation is teams. You're such a collaborator, Emily. I loved your approach in what you did, and so we know that there are many teams watching, listening in. And so if there was, I don't know if you can do this is a bit of a challenge. If there was one thing, you think that would be really supportive on the approach for breastfeeding these, fragile infants, what would you want the teams to know? What's the sort of practical element that they could take away?
Hmm. If this isn't already something that your NICU tries to do, I would try to implement this. If possible, when a breastfeeding attempt is going to be made, and we know this as a team, we've agreed that this is the right time, all of those things are in place. Is there a possibility for skin to skin before breastfeeding to be part of the picture?
Mm,
Because sometimes you can put all of these things in place. You can schedule the IBCLC to come. And then everything falls apart because the baby's not ready to latch when everyone else is.
mm,
And if skin to skin can be part of the picture first, and
right.
the latch can happen when the baby is ready, and then maybe it stops because the baby clearly is giving you signals that it's time to pause.
Yeah.
Then you can move back and forth kind of organically through skin to skin into a latch,
Hmm.
back into skin to skin. And it doesn't have to be this big moment with a lot of pressure. And I
Right.
think that gives families the gift of a success.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking right now, I can picture it right now how dysregulated both the mother and the baby potentially are when we go, okay, it's time, the window's here, breastfeeding is up, or we're going to watch. And then it all falls apart for a
Yeah.
multitude of reasons. It's a lot of pressure for the whole sort of entity. So very wise words there. I love that. We can always talk about more skin to skin in the NICU. I know for sure. And I,
I
I know
know.
our friends listening, and they're probably cheering on and saying, yes, absolutely. What can we do? How can we improve it? So
I
that's
think something
fantastic.
too to take back with you is that there aren't really advanced skills. There are fundamental skills applied to
Mhm.
advanced situations. And that, skin to skin, identifying state, all of these things, they can be seen as very fundamental and very basic. But
Mhm.
you are going into these life or death situations all the time and applying those fundamental skills to very advanced situations.
That's true.
And I would like to leave everyone with that little gift.
Yeah, I love it. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Well, Dr. Emily Spaeth, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. This has been enlightening, fun. I can't wait to see what else is on the horizon for you. But I know for
My
our
pleasure.
attendees coming in, they'll be able to find you on our website very soon at goldneonatal.com. And of course, you can check out all the details right now. You can look at all the content that's going to be coming up, including with Emily's. And then, of course, everything opens up on June 1st. We have a opening keynote, which is free and open access. So do come and visit us on that day. It will be available for your recording pleasure as well. So you can absolutely register for that event and then listen to it when you have time and space on your calendar. Thank you again, Emily, for being with me here today. It's been
You're
fun
very
with you.
welcome.
Yeah,
You
take
too,
care.
Fiona.
Thank you. And
Bye.
thank you to everyone listening in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye for now, everyone.